This actually happened really recently, yesterday, I think, as of time of recording. Sorry, I do have to say shout out to the Daily Upside for this article. So Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, the largest chip maker in the world, was already building a pair of new fabrication plants in Arizona when the Biden administration on Monday made it an offer it couldn't refuse, up to $11.6 billion in federal grants and loans to help TSMC upgrade its manufacturing plans and add a third factory to its Grand Canyon State footprint. This is all a part of of course, the CHIPS Act and the Biden administration's, push to get America into the ring as a global leader in semiconductor manufacturing. It says here the US is still a top chip maker, accounting for about 12% of the global industry, but its share was more than 3 times that in 1990. So the trend is not in favor of the US, and obviously semiconductors are a big thing of the future, and that's why the US government is so hell-bent on getting chip manufacturing back into the US. Where was I up to? Yes, much of the capacity now exists in East Asian countries, including China, Japan, South Korea, and of course Taiwan. And because semiconductors are part of pretty much every electronic device, it was a George Foreman-esque gut punch when the pandemic disrupted those supply chains. Yes. The CHIPS and Science Act passed in 2022 earmarked $39 billion in direct grants plus loans and guarantees worth $75 billion towards US chip manufacturing. The White House has just started divvying up the money to eager tech firms, which have collectively announced $200 billion in US investment since Biden took office, Bloomberg reported. And now TSMC, maker of the most advanced chips, is about to get itself a major slice of the pie. So TSMC was awarded $6.6 billion in grants, and it can potentially receive as much as $5 billion in loans. The company has 2 fabs in Arizona that are expected to start production in 2025 and 2028, and it plans to add a third factory by the end of the decade.
Wow.
So,
fascinating.
Lots of money in chips in America at the moment. They want to increase that production.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people, I've kind of looked a little bit at some kind of investments in semiconductors. I've never invested in the space, but I've found it a place I kind of wanted to look at. And a lot of people kind of view the semiconductor space, and particularly memory semiconductors, for example, as essentially the oil of the future. There's going to be this consistent flow of need for computer memory as, companies build out data centers and everything moves more online, and especially now with AI and the enormous amount of processing power that is necessary to run some of these generative AI systems. That it's kind of like this very highly desired commodity that clearly the US, at least the Biden administration, thinks it's important that they have their own supply, and that they're not relying on importing that so-called future oil.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. Computing components are now commodities. They are a 21st century commodity. In much the same way that gold, oil, copper, all the rest of it's a commodity. Now, anything to do with computing power is also a commodity that, nations will need to secure supply of. And that's exactly what has caused all of this money to go towards, and the CHIPS Act to be passed and all that sort of stuff. It's interesting. They also said in March, Intel was awarded $8.5 billion in grants, and in February, Global Foundries was awarded $1.5 billion. So sources also told Reuters on Monday that the White House could announce between $6 billion and $7 billion in grants for South Korean chipmaker Samsung to expand its output in Texas. So it's all happening. It's interesting specifically on the TSMC front, though, because it's an interesting one because they had already announced and planned these 2 factories in Arizona. So they were already doing it of their own accord. But the article notes that this is a state that Biden won in 2020 by only about 10,000 votes. So it's interesting now that they win this big grant that helps them expand both of the already locked-in factories and add a third specifically in Arizona. So I thought that was interesting. There was maybe some political motivations to do this, but who knows?
Maybe. Just maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Hamish, that's all I had to say about TSMC, but they have won a lot of money, so congrats to them.
Yep. Yeah.